Hello, welcome to Chris's Beer Reviews. I don't know if anybody's watching. This StreamYard is looking very different to how it was the last time I used it, but it has been so long since I've done a live. And there is actually 0 people watching, which is understandable because I did schedule this rather late. I'm a bit tired, but for some strange reason, I fancied going live and reviewing a few Hawkstone beers that I picked up today. I picked them up today. I was in a local offie today, and they had a range of the Hawkstone beers, 4 of them they had. So I picked up all 4 and thought I could do them all in one video. Or I could do them live. And I thought, well, why not do them live? I know it was short notice. I know this is a short notice live, so I don't expect to get many people in. But if I take my time over reviewing 4 beers, you never know. People may appear. And at the moment, I am talking to myself, although it's now saying there's 5 people watching, which is very nice. So who are you, the 5 that are watching? I think John from Nerd in Motion, he may join me. I did put the StreamYard link in my group chat with some people that I normally do lives with, such as Paul's Beer Reviews. He might be working though. Crummy Beard and Mark from the Craft Beer Hub. I did share that with them. Andy K, how are you, mate? Hope you are well. Thank you very much for joining. Yeah, like I say, it was a last minute kind of idea to do a live stream and review 4 Hawkstone beers. And the Hawkstone beers, they are kind of synonymous with Jeremy Clarkson. What actually does Jeremy Clarkson do with Hawkstone? Does he just provide the malts, or is he now more involved with the brewing? I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I've looked up Jeremy Clarkson's role in Hawkstone. So is he more involved now? Did he just provide malts? Is he now involved in hops and everything else? Who knows? It's been a while since I checked in. But like I say, I think I was on 0 people viewing. I was in a local offie earlier on today. It's called the Local Offie, which is an off license near me. And they had 4 of the Hawkstone beers. So they've come on, haven't they, Hawkstone? They've gone from having just the Hawkstone lager to a Pils, a session type beer, and an IPA as well. So I thought I'd pick up all 4. So Andy K, thank you very much for joining. I hope you are well. Lee Garner, evening, mate. Hope you are good. Thank you very much for joining. You picked your time, and Decker on. Thank you. Saved me from watching that. For me, the old Ant and Deck thing, the Saturday night takeaway, I think it has gone a bit downhill. Maybe not so much downhill, but we've just got used to the format, and it just becomes a little bit boring, the same old format. And they've been doing it for what, over 10 years now? Is it that long they've been doing it? I think it is over 10 years, and I think the format of it has just become a bit samey, isn't it? And the silly guest they have on up in that little red podium-y bit is all a bit samey, and they just do the same old things, don't they, really? There's nothing really new about it. But fair play to them. They're still going. They're still doing it. And what I like is they're a similar age to me. I'm 48, and I think they're in the same age bracket. So it's nice. Similar age, and they mess about, and they have good fun. But I do think Saturday night takeaway has run its course, is my feeling. It's the same with Gladiators. Gladiators used to be epic many years ago, and I used to watch that a lot, Gladiators, and I watch it now, and I just think its day was back then. It's not now, but some people still enjoy it. Andy K, it's their 20th series. Is it really? 20th series. That's epic, isn't it? But it's obviously still popular. People must still be watching it. But will it continue for much longer? I don't really know. What I do know is there's someone in the basement that I've just noticed. He's probably been sitting there ages, and I've only just realised that John's here. So let's get John on. Let's add John to the picture.
Hello, how are you doing, Chris? You all right?
I'm very well, mate. How long have you been sat down there in the basement?
Literally seconds.
Good.
Because I'm still setting up. I thought he won't be ready yet. There's no way. And then you were just ready straight away.
I was
very impressed.
I was a few minutes late. I was rushing because I really wasn't going to do this. But something just kept telling me, Chris, do a live. You haven't done a live for so long. And I was thinking, but I haven't really publicized it. I think I put it out on YouTube only about 15 minutes ago that I was going to do it. Whilst I am tired for some weird reason, John, I just felt in the mood to host a live, which is very
Mate, I
unlike
get
me.
it. I get it. I mean, Lid's literally. So I'm sat on the sofa. She wants to watch. She's watching some series on Netflix, which is only second to the most dullest thing I've ever watched. And it's all like what I call a who touched whose bum first situation. It's like literally, it's like, oh, she said this, and then he said that, and then she's going out with him, and it's like, oh gosh, this is flipping. It's just other people's drama. I don't want to watch this. So yeah,
No.
so she was like, Chris wants to do a
I'm
live.
not sure who we've lost. Have you?
I'm still here.
Yeah, well, there you go. Got you out of that one. Yeah, one of the other reasons I don't really do lives is because I've never really properly sorted out the internet connection up here in the pub shed. It is a lot better than it used to be, but I always think if you're hosting a live, you don't need to be looking like a Minecraft figure, do you really, to do it properly? So I hope I do look normal, but not like a Minecraft character. And I hope I sound okay. But it might drop out a little bit here and there. And if it does, John can carry on doing it and I'll just reboot and come back in. But hopefully the connection's good. If you are watching, then just put something in the comments just to say whether I look like a Minecraft character or not. I hope I don't. But
you look all right at the moment.
Jolly good.
Me, on the other hand,
you always look good, John.
I'm having I'm trying to fire up my flux capacitor on my screen, but it's loading. But it's not. There nice. We go. There we go.
I do like that little screen you have there.
It's good, isn't it? That's my flux capacitor. We're now fully firing on all cylinders.
Very nice. It's looking good in the man cave now, mate.
It's all right. I replaced this with batteries, so that's working now.
Very nice.
So your thumbnail suggests you got some very nice beer to drink.
Yeah, I have really. I was in my local offie today. It is called the local offie, and they had 4 of the Hawkstone beers. I don't know if they do any more than that 4 in the range. So I picked all 4 up, and I thought I'm just going to review them all in one video. So I thought I might as well just do it live and just do them all in one video, or just do it all live, rather than, because I know sometimes when you put content out, if you do a Hawkstone beer, your next video is a Hawkstone, it just becomes boring. So I thought, why not just do them all in one go, and why not just do them all live and just get it done?
Oh, that's fair enough, man.
So before you came on, we were talking about Ant and Dec Saturday Night Takeaway, and I was saying I think it's kind of run its course, and they've been going for 20 years on that show. I thought it was about 10, but I'm rubbish with time. It flies by. So Andy Kay said, yeah, it's their 20th season. And then Lee Garner has put, 20 years. Oh, let's put that comment back up. 20
I'll
years.
I'll be honest with you. I only just discovered that this show was a thing. Really? I didn't know it was even a thing, yeah. And it was only because we were at the in-laws, and they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to watch it tonight. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. I have no idea what it is. And I thought it was a new thing that they just sort of brought back. I had no idea that this was on every Saturday. Completely passed me by.
Yeah, they run, like I say, they run a series of it, so it's not on every Saturday throughout the year. But how you've not seen it when it's been on for 20 years just kind of shows you don't really watch TV.
I don't watch mainstream because there's nothing to flipping watch 9 times out of 10. It's just like total. It's just dross.
Yeah, I agree. TV just isn't what it was many years ago. I mean, like I say, well, not like I say, but I was born in 1975. And 80s TV was just epic. There were so many good family TV shows on that you just don't get anymore. And maybe they're just not successful or wanted anymore. But I do remember enjoying TV when I was a kid. There was some good stuff on. On a Saturday, you'd have Knight Rider, A-Team, Doctor Who, Street Ball, Dukes of Hazzard. They were all epic, and I still enjoy watching some of the old A-Teams now. Whilst some of the effects are a bit sketchy, and no one ever dies, considering the amount of gunshots that are being fired and explosions.
Yeah.
Nobody dies, but it's all cool. And Knight Rider was fantastic, and just think how famous Knight Rider made David Hasselhoff. I mean, that was just unreal, wasn't it? And Chips, yes, Lee Garner, Chips. I love Chips.
Oh,
the
Chips.
Californian Highway Patrol.
Oh, mate.
On another one, Fall Guy as well.
I love Fall Guy. Who was the girl out of Fall Guy? She was gorgeous.
Yeah, she was. But so was his truck. I used to love his truck.
Chevy, was it a square body? Absolute belt. I had a toy one. I remember having a toy one with rubber tires. I thought that was cool. Made by Ertl. So Ertl did all the film cars. So you had I had the Knight Rider, the Dukes of Hazzard, and the Fall Guy. I had an A-Team van, and they were all. And I had the Bandit. I had the Bandit, Smoking the Bandit. I had the Bandit's car, Boss Hogg's little Cadillac, and the police car, and Daisy Duke's Jeep all came in a set.
Yeah.
No, sorry, not Daisy Duke's Jeep. That was in a separate one, but they had a pack of them. And I have one of them still somewhere. I'm looking here because, believe it or not, my desk has got loads of Hot Wheels randomly that the kids have bought me.
Cool, very cool. I like that. I've got one of that style, but it's not him. It's
yeah,
there he is. Hold why my mind's gone blank with his name. What's his name?
Deadpool.
My goodness, my memories have got so bad. But yeah, like Tessa says, Tessa, hope you're well. Thank you for commenting. $6 Million Man, there was another one. Fantastic.
Airwolf.
Tessa, hope you're well.
Airwolf, of course, Airwolf.
Airwolf. How did we forget Airwolf? Yeah, Tess, I'll message you later because I'm off the next 5 days. So I'll see what your availability is in terms of seeing if we can have a catch up during that time. But yeah, Airwolf as well. Just the theme tune to Airwolf. I used to have that years ago on my Nokia phones as my ringtone, the Airwolf tone. Absolutely loved it.
And that noise it would make, that like as it went through the air.
Yeah, it's just fantastic
awesome
stuff. And I know I think, are we spoiled with the likes that we have? Prime and Netflix, Disney's, and all of those types of things, but there are some great box sets. So there are some amazing box sets and things on those. But going back to your youth and watching those programs were just epic. And because you had to watch them, didn't you? Unless you had a VHS video recorder with buttons that you had to hit with a hammer to get them to work. You had to. It was a thing, wasn't it? You'd all get together and watch TV together because there was no real ways of recording. You couldn't watch it and catch up and everything else. It was such a family thing. And that's gone now, isn't it? That family feel, because you can just watch things whenever you want.
Well, it was like the 80s, as I remember it. I'd be out all day on my bike in summer day. You'd be out on your bike, and you'd be Saturday night. You'd be out and. We had a rule that the street lights came on, you came home. Yeah. But quite often on a Saturday night, you knew that Saturday night, if you were lucky and Dad done well at work, because also we had a recession, a big recession in the 80s.
Yeah.
You might be lucky and have a Chinese and sit in front of the TV and have your takeaway. Yeah. And I remember those it was such a treat. One to eat in the lounge with I used to have these little tables that nested tables. We'd all have a nested table with our little Chinese on it, and I'd sit there, and it would be like Airwolf or Knight Rider or A-Team, and then it would go through all the different shows, and you'd have Terry Wogan on or whoever, and then it would be my bedtime. I'd go to bed, and then as I got older, that kind of changed to I'd go to bed maybe. I've been out and I'm shattered, and it would be like watching Red Dwarf on Channel 4 or the One Show, or was it called the One Show? What was it called? That's the new one, isn't it? What was the one that was crazy with what's her face on it? Thingy Ball's daughter, Zoe Ball, was on it.
Oh, what? Zoe Ball was the presenter.
Yeah, she was one of the presenters on it, and it had all sorts of mad stuff on it. It was like proper edgy for the 90s. And you had I remember a friend of mine had a sound out car, and he was on there. It was a brown Cortina, and he had all cups of water on the roof, and it fired all the water everywhere. I can't remember the show now. And then if you were lucky, you stayed up late and you could look at boobies on Eurotrash. That was
Eurotrash.
and that was it. That was the 90s.
It was, and there was, what's his name, who did a Friday night or Saturday night show before Eurotrash. Was it The Word? Christian.
Yeah, it was The Word. That's what I'm on about with.
Yeah, The Word. Yeah,
The Word. And then you had, what's his face? The ginger one did TFI Friday, was it?
Yeah, Chris Evans, TFI Friday. That was pretty popular. There's The Big Breakfast. That was a pretty racy breakfast show as well, wasn't it? With Denise Van Outen and what's his mush? Johnny, whatever his name was.
What's happened to him? He ended up on the radio, didn't he? But he kind of vanished. I really liked him. I thought he was quite a funny guy.
I think he still is on the radio. I think he's made quite a successful career out of radio, but he was quite funny to watch on TV, let alone the radio. But yeah, there was great quality TV that everyone would watch generally together, wouldn't they? And that kind of togetherness has kind of gone, hasn't it? Oh, look at that. They're old Top Trumps, aren't they?
Yeah, they're retro ones in like a case, like a cassette case.
Very nice.
The cars on here are just like proper old school Ferrari Mondial. Oh, the Countach. Where is it? That one there.
They've released a new version, haven't it, of the Countach?
Yeah, I heard that. I hope it's not electric or I'm going to lose my mind.
No, it's not. It's not electric, and it's stunning. It is absolutely stunning. Let me catch up with some of these comments. Brad, I hope you're well, Brad. Nice to see you in. Thank you very much. It's nice to see everyone in because I really do lives. So for the few that are in watching, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. And I know it was also late notice. Andy Kay is saying good evening to Brad. Lee Gardner is saying evening, Tessa. Tessa saying yes, that's in relation to us having a catch up. It's been a long time, Tess, since we had a catch up. We definitely need to do that. Kevin Parton, how are you? Thank you very much for joining. He's saying good evening to the pair of us. So thank you very much indeed. Brad Evans is saying, Andy, where you gone? Where's that comment gone? Andy, Lehigh lads, Airwolf, string fellow hawk. Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah, that's an actual Bigfoot that they made with those massive tyres on.
That's quality. Lee Garner saying I rewatched Chips. It wasn't the best. It probably isn't to rewatch back. It probably isn't, but I'd probably still enjoy it at the same time. I get, it's not going to have the same type of feel now as it does when you were a kid. But we all pretended to be Chips on our bikes, and I used to have a rally burner, and I absolutely adored my rally burner. Absolutely adored it.
You'd ride in formation down the street and pretend that you were
absolutely.
Like Chips, that you ruled that road with your rally burner.
And if you slipped on the pedals, those rally burner pedals back in the 80s would rip your shins to pieces. Those metal pedals that were serrated. Oh dear.
They were brutal, weren't they?
Oh, they were brutal, man.
The kids of today, they'll never. Well, they might do. My kids, where we live, is quite safe around here, and they go out like they wanted to go out today, but I actually said no, only because they've got a football match tomorrow. And last night they went out, and Kobe injured himself falling off his scooter, and then couldn't play football this morning. So I was like, you know what, you got a match tomorrow. It's a team game. Just keep yourself in one piece. But the other part of me is like, you know what? I want them to experience riding around the estate and falling off stuff, and you know,
that's what it's about, isn't it? As a kid,
yeah.
That's what kids should do. And there's a massive lack of, just I don't know what we were used to doing as kids. And people say, "Oh, times aren't as safe now as they were, back in the 80s." And there's probably a point to that, but kids generally don't do the things now that we used to do. How often do you ever see a kid making a camp or climbing up a tree, or playing war or whatever? You don't see it, do you, anymore? Because they've got something in their phone, which is something in their hand, which is a phone, which dictates a lot, doesn't it? So they grow up a little bit quicker, which is a shame, because there was so many great things to do as a kid. So it is a shame. Things have changed a lot.
I went on AliExpress and bought some walkie-talkies. So now I don't know if I've got one in here. There's a charging dock down here, but they've got them in the house. So basically, they'll take some walkie-talkies. We've got one at home. They're not allowed to take their phones out, but those walkie-talkies will last a day and a half if need be. And they go and play. I can hear them talking. They're safe. They know, like, don't give location away and stuff like that. But then I was like, right, it's we're having dinner now, and then they come back on their bikes, walkie-talkie. It's just like, I love it. It costs nothing, like £10.
And that's what it should be, shouldn't it? It's about kids being kids rather than kids trying to be adults. And that's what they should do. They should enjoy that. But what I am going to do is, as you can see, I'm moving around, is I'm going to get one of these Hawkstone beers out.
Oh, I'm jealous. Lee Garner says Lolo Ferrari on Eurotrash. Didn't she have a tragic end, or something happened horrendous to her? I feel like there was Lolo Ferrari. She was like, she had the biggest silicon implantations in the world or something. It was pretty sad, whatever happened to her. Top Trump, superb. TJ Hooker, Andy K says, yeah, I remember TJ. Who remembers Automan? Automan, and he was like, he could turn in from a human into a car.
No,
the car looked a bit like a Lamborghini, but it was very Tron-like. It was like blue with white noise in it.
No, I do not remember that one.
I'm showing my age here.
Yeah, but I'm older.
There was that one. What was the other one? There was cartoons. Ulysses. Do you remember Ulysses?
I remember that. I can almost remember the theme for that.
Ulysses,
yeah,
flying through the galaxy.
Ooh.
That was an epic series. That was French, and Daft Punk. If you ever watch any of their music videos, you'll see the characters in the videos are the blue people from Ulysses.
Oh, fair enough.
There you go. Useless facts you can keep for yourself.
So I'm going to open up this bottle of Hawkstone Pils, which is 3.8% for a Pils. 3.8%. That's interesting. 330ml bottle. This says on the back, with flavours of grapefruit, pine, and a bittersweet finish. Our Pils is a light-bodied lager with a real character. There's quite a bit more that there's written on here, but really it's just talking about the flavours. I didn't know this one existed until I saw it today. Hawkstone Pils, 3.8% ABV.
That's not very strong.
No, it's not, is it?
But it's sessionable.
Well, it's definitely going to be sessionable, but it'll only be sessionable if it tastes all right, isn't it?
I would want out of a Pilsner crispness, clarity, and a slight biscuitiness with a bit more of a malt base to it. That would be what I would be going for.
And it should have a bit of a kind of peppery finish as well. No head whatsoever, which is really disappointing.
Is it the glass, though?
No, I don't know. The glass, I don't know. I mean, I can try another glass on the next one, but it's a bit moody looking, isn't it? It is a bit moody looking. Let's have a little sniff, Skip. It smells like cat's pee. That does not smell very nice. Oh, it actually does smell like cat's piss.
What?
That doesn't smell nice. I mean, the Hawkstone Lager, I've got that in here, and I did review Hawkstone Lager when it came out, and I didn't mind that. It was quite pleasant. But that does smell a bit cat's wee. There's nothing endearing about that aroma.
You didn't do the litter tray before you came into the show.
I washed the glass in the litter tray before I came out. That's the overriding aroma I get, is a little bit of cat's wee on that. Nothing else. Bearing in mind, it starts on the back saying it's flavours of grapefruit and pine.
That can be the grapefruit.
Let's just taste it. It doesn't smell very nice. And I'm not doing this to have digs at anybody, because I quite like Jeremy Clarkson. I know people are very divided on Jeremy Clarkson, but I enjoy what he does on TV. But that does not smell nice. I'm going to taste it. Cheers. That's pathetic. That's not good beer. I don't know what they're aiming for with that, but that is not a good beer. It's I know it's 3.8%. Got to take that into consideration, that it is only 3.8%, but that's water. It's
Oh, really?
That is absolute water. That is not anywhere near a Pils. There's no with flavours of grapefruit. There's none of that. There's no pine whatsoever, and a bittersweet finish. It has got a sweet finish. I'll give it that. That's dreadful. That is absolutely dreadful. But then I haven't had a beer that's 3.8% for a long time. But it's just got nothing going on. There's none of what it describes on the side of that. None whatsoever.
So what's in it? What hops? Does it say what hops are in it?
Let's have a look. No, hops, yeast, contains gluten. Cotswold Brewery. Tastes best when chilled. It's well chilled, so I dread to think what this tastes like if it isn't. Let's read the rest. It says, hewn from the mineral rich bedrock of the Cotswold Hills, the Hawkstone, a Neolithic standing stone, which gives our brewery its name, has stood for generations. Okay, nothing about the beer. The Cotswold brash soil in which it rests is hard and unforgiving, but for those who persist, it yields a malting barley of unusually high quality, ideal for brewing. After harvest, our brewmaster combines the barley with aromatic New World hops, yeast, and the purest local water before allowing it to mature for up to 6 weeks. There's no hint of hops in there whatsoever. There's nothing hoppy about that. There's nothing.
And also, I've just got on their website, and they've bought the. There's this thing that you see called the World Beer Awards. And basically, for those that don't know, if you ever see it, I'll show it to you. I should be able to make it work on here. Let me just swap. There we go. That's you and me. Let me move this screen to there. Right. So if you ever see this award here, that's a World Beer Award, it's not worth the paper it's written on, because you actually have to pay for that.
Yeah, I always got that vibe when I've seen that award. I've always a paid for award.
Yeah, so they basically would contact us every year until, in the end, I just said, I just don't see the point in buying an award.
No.
And they were like, well, it's not bought, you just guaranteed one of 3. I was like, well, doesn't make any sense. And then the people who are tasting the beer, who are so-called beer experts, I was like, and one of them works for another brewery. One of them's a beer YouTuber that's not a qualified beer YouTuber, like a qualified taster or anything like that. Yeah. I was just like, it's just a load of nonsense. So you pay a load of money, and you get the award one of the awards, basically. So it's not worth the paper it's written on.
No, I had a funny feeling with that. Yeah, Lee, I'm not selling it, mate. That is awful. I would not recommend that. It's just, do you know, I'd rather drink, and I know it probably isn't going to be 3.8%, but I'd rather be drinking something like San Miguel or something, that, because it's not particularly cheap either, really. But that is really bad. I would go as far as to say that's the worst beer I've drunk this year.
Oh, wow.
That is awful. Absolutely awful. No
Because their
real
other
flavour.
lager is great.
The Hawkstone lager is good. I've got it. But that's got no decent flavour. It doesn't smell right. It doesn't. Nothing on the side of that bottle is in that glass. It's watery. I'll tell you what it reminds me of, and this is really going to make it sound really horrendous, is in places like Asda, Sainsbury's and Tesco's, they have their range of like a 4-pack, real super budget lager that is about 3.8% or 3.4%. And you can buy a 4-pack for like £2. And it's just water with a little bit of flavour of something. That's what it reminds me of. It just reminds me of a super cheap supermarket lager. Is it Tesco's? Their super cheap range is called Ashfield or something. That's what it reminds me of. That's a really bad beer, really bad. I wouldn't recommend anybody buys that. It's too expensive and it's crap. And wow. as Brad says, low ABV is no excuse for a bad beer. Absolutely. There's loads of good low ABV beers out there. Bad beer is just bad beer. That's a shame. Absolutely.
It's true.
In terms of how much it cost, I think it was about £2.50 for that bottle. Andy Kay's asked how much that was. I think it was £2.50. That is not worth £2.50. That's shocking. I'm quite disappointed.
What have I done here?
I did not expect that to be.
We were in the infinite loop then.
I just didn't even expect it to be bad. I thought it was going to be okay. I didn't think it was going to be a world beater at 3.8%, but I thought it'd have a bit of a cleanness, a crispness to it. But no, it's got absolutely nothing. It's really bad.
So if you're making a Pilsner against a normal lager, the Pilsner that we make would take 3 months as an absolute minimum in the tank. And a standard lager you can get away with maybe a month and a half, 2, before it's ready. But for a Pilsner, you need to have certain malts for it to qualify as a Pilsner, and you need Pilsner yeast. So I don't know. Maybe they did, but our Pilsner when we made it was 5%, and that was the bare minimum. In fact, it's more than that.
Yeah.
So, you know. Yeah, sorry, I randomly dropped one of the little tiny wheels off the world's tiniest McLaren F1.
Is that a micro machines?
Nearly. But it's got all like individually coloured lights, and it's tiny.
That is tiny.
Yeah. And one of the wheels fell off, and I thought, if I don't find that now, I'll never find it again.
No.
Andy
Kay says just a money-making gimmick beer. You could be right, because Hawkstone Lager was where it started, and Hawkstone Lager is a decent lager. And they've obviously just punted out more, but we will see. I've got 3 more to do, including the lager.
But could I throw this out there that this might be more? So Hawkstone Lager, the biggest problem I could see is that if you were a Carling guy, there's too much flavour.
Oh, absolutely.
So maybe this is like because if you look at a lot of the new beers or the rebranding on crap beers, mainstream beers, they all say Pilsner now. And you think, these are not Pilsners.
No.
So do you think that it could be that they're trying to push into that market to make something a bit less like, so it's just like all the other crap that's out there?
Yeah, maybe, but you can't punt a 330ml bottle out at £2.50 and be crap. That's not good business, because as Brad says, £2.50 for a glorified Carlin by the sounds of it. So for not much more than £2.50, you can buy a 4-pack of Carlin. So
no, yeah,
you're not going to take Carlin drinkers away with that. Not £2.50 for something that doesn't taste any better. You're not going to do it, are you? So I agree with what Andy Kay said. Maybe it's just money making. They're just jumping on a bandwagon of success off their lager. But I have got more. In fact, let's just get another one out right now. Let's just do that.
So on the next one, Chris, will you change your glass for one with a nucleation in the bottom of the glass and see if that makes any difference?
I can do that. I can definitely do that. That is a good idea, mate. Let's go with the one that I've been looking forward to the most. Let's get rid of that glass. I can't put that beer in there. Let's get a glass with a bit of nucleation in the bottom. There you go.
Perfect. If it's etched in the... that's one of mine.
It's one of yours.
One of mine,
baby.
It's
got nucleation. There you go. So let's put it in
weird.
Lord's.
It's so weird now that I'm still an owner, but I don't do the day-to-day. It's really strange. I'm getting used to it.
But this Lord's glass has got an enormous nucleation in the bottom of that. The disc at the bottom covers the entire base of that glass. It's never going to show up on my camera. Oh, it is, yeah.
And it's the same glass that Kona use for their beer.
Yeah. It is, yeah. So let's do the Hawkstone IPA. This one I was looking forward to. This is 4.8%. This also says its RIPA leads with a burst of citrus flavour and touches of honey and caramel, balanced by a smooth, bitter finish. Oh, me. Let's give that a go. Let's give that a go. Hopefully, it'll be better. I'm going to go vigorous on the pour as well. Let's go proper vigorous.
Woo!
There we go. That looks better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That looks better. Good carbonation, but it is, as I say, nucleated. A bit of a better head. And it's a nice, clean glass as well. It's freshly cleaned, this glass. So that looks a bit better, doesn't it? That looks more like a beer. Let's have a sniff of this one then. Oh, Jesus, wet. I don't know what they're using, but this isn't as bad. I've got no motive. This isn't... I do things honestly. And I like Jeremy Clarkson. But that's got a bit of a cat's wee whiff about it as well. Nothing like that Pils. That they're using something that's got a bit of a strange aroma to it. I don't know how many people have reviewed that. I need to go and have a look, see how many people have reviewed this.
40.
IPA.
There's only 40 on their website that have reviewed it. The only thing that you get, so with a lager or a pilsner, is when you're fermenting it, cold fermenting it, you get a lot of sulfur that's given off. So if you were to walk into our brewery when it's mid-fermenting, it smells eggy and kind of can smell a bit cat pee. And if you take the beer, I mean, we'll have all had it at some point where you've had a beer and it smells eggy in the line and you've like gone for a whiff of it and you're like, whoa, that smells a bit rough. That's just, it's the sulfur from the yeast. So I don't know if it's a bit like that.
Maybe. Let's have a taste. Let's have a proper taste. I mean that again, that doesn't set the world on fire, but that's not bad. It has got citrus to it. There is a bit of honey to it. I don't get the caramel. It has got a nice bitter finish to it. But again, it's overpriced. It's overpriced for what that is. There's lots of 500ml bottle IPAs for £1.80 that are far better than a £2.50 330ml bottle. I don't know what's going on over at Hawkstone because I like the lager, and that's why I bought these, because I like the lager. So I thought, why not buy the range? I mean, that's drinkable. Don't get me wrong, it's drinkable, but it doesn't. It's not particularly IPA like.
So
it's better than that Pils, but it lacks flavour. Massively lacks a bit of flavour. I don't know if they're just rushing beers through and ignoring a bit of the brewing process. I'm not a brewer. I've never really fully understood the science of brewing, but I don't know, John. Maybe it's rushed. I don't know.
I don't know if it's that, or it could be. I know some people get the smell from certain hops. I know I do. A lot of people, I'm just looking online here, a lot of people are saying Simcoe, we use Simcoe, and I will agree, there's definitely a hint of P with Simcoe. Citra's bad for it. You get that catweed smell with Citra. And then Amarillo and Cluster. Those are ones that I know. In fact, this is what this is saying. So it could be simply hop choice, and the chances are it could be their base hop. So we tend to use in all our beers, we use Dana from Slovenia because it gives a really nice bitter finish, and we tend to we take our beer down to like the most attenuation, which means that it's really dry. It's all our beers, like all the alcohol's been eaten. You remember Holston Pills? So yeah. Holston Pills, it was because the yeast had eaten all the sugars, and that's what we tend to do with our beers to give you a really dry finish, and then basically, I think what they've maybe done there, they've gone for a base hop that might is edgy for lager to have Citra in or Simcoe or something like that, but that gives those smells.
Yeah, that's fair. But what I struggle with on here are those 3 letters that say IPA, because this is more like a lager, and that's what's I'm finding a struggle. It's more. I mean, it looks like a lager for a start. I know the lighting in here is dreadful, but if I poured the lager next to that looks exactly like a lager. It doesn't look like an IPA. It is quite clean. It is quite crisp. It's refreshing, but it's not an IPA. That's a lager. Is how that is coming across. It just comes across as a lager rather than an IPA. It looks exactly like a lager. It's golden. It's clear. And
is it as fizzy as is it as fizzy as the lager that you had before?
It's actually got more carbonation than that Pils.
What?
Way more.
Oh, that's not right.
It's because I've already reviewed the lager. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to open the lager and I'm going to put it up against that, because that looks like a lager. We've got the Hawkstone session to come as well. And interestingly,
hello, Beardy. How you doing, dude?
Beardy, how are you, mate? Interestingly, those 2 that I've opened had plain black bottle caps. The lagers got some artwork on the top of it. and the lager comes in
Very
at
well.
4.8%, as does this IPA. But that just, I know the lighting in here is awful, but that looks like a lager. So I'm going to have to open the lager. Let's get another, we'll do it fair. Let's get another nucleated glass, which I've got plenty of. Let's go with a beaver tail. Let's open the lager. Let's have a look. Another vigorous pour.
Very
Yeah,
vigorous.
see, I'm getting aromas off the lager already that smell decent. God, that's light. I don't remember it being that light. This feels like I'm absolutely bashing Hawkstone. This was not the purpose of this live.
It is quite light from what I
mean,
remember.
look how light that is.
Yeah,
I don't remember that lager being that light.
I tell you why I remember it being that light is because me and Paul we put it next to the Sleeper lager, and they were about the same colour.
That is really light. I don't remember Sleeper being that light.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of there is a little bit of skunkiness coming off the lager, which is a brown bottle, which is surprising.
Oh, that's weird.
But I can't get over how that IPA looks. It just looks like a lager. I'm going to bash on the lager. Let's have a go on that. I don't think that is the same as the lager that they first brewed.
No,
this was not meant to be a Hawkstone bashing video. It just wasn't. But it's turning out. I don't believe that's the same. I know you can get the Hawkstone on PD, which I keep avoiding. And I might get the Hawkstone on PD, but that is, I mean, look how light that is. It was never that light, surely.
Can you do me a favour and just check on the bottle where it's actually being made? It's not being made under license somewhere, is it?
It doesn't actually say where it's brewed specifically. It gives you a list of ingredients, and then it just says Cotswold Brewing Co., College Farm, Stowe Road, Burton on the Water. Let's see what this one says. Cool. Yeah, it's the same.
Okay, so
that doesn't mean it's brewed there. Does that mean it's brewed
by
there?
law? Yeah, by law, if they've got their address on there like that, that means that's where it's brewed. If they put, if they import it or they brew it in another place apart from the location that they're marketing it from, then they have to state that. So if you look at any mainstream beer at the moment on the shelves that claims it's from Italy, India, Germany, whatever, 9 times out of 10 they're brewed in flipping Burton-on-Trent or somewhere.
Yeah. I don't think that lager is anywhere near the same quality as it was before. And like I say, I know I've said it a few times, this was not meant to be a Hawkstone bashing video. I wanted to enjoy every single one of these. I was hoping they were all going to be epic. The IPA looks like a lager, which is strange. The lager, I mean, look how clear that is compared to the IPA, which actually looks like a lager. It's very odd. I'm so disappointed. I really wanted to enjoy these, and I've got one more to go. And all I've
You know what we
passion.
need to do? We need to buy these again. Meet up, you and me, at one of our car shows, and then we need to drink them together.
Yeah, definitely. I've been looking at car shows. I'm on Facebook, as I know you are, and the moment you look at one car show on Facebook, your Facebook page fills up with all sorts of car shows. Every time I look at one, I think of you and think, we need to go to that. We need to go to that. So we need to sort out another car show. Stay there. We can stay in my camper van and take some of these beers. I think that would be
mate,
an epic video.
that would be such a laugh. I'll be well up for that.
That would be quality.
I don't know if you can cope with my snoring.
Well, Rachel can barely cope with mine, and I can't cope with hers, and I sleep really light, so I'm quite used to snoring noises. But Andy K says, John, would you use the same yeast in both the IPA and a Pilsner? Before you answer that, I'm just going to go back to Brad Evans' comment, because Drunken Tailor is quite an odd beer, really, isn't it? In terms of Lord's Brewing, but I enjoyed Drunken Tailor. I thought that was a good Pilsner. That was a good Pilsner. So talking of the Lord's Pilsner, I really enjoyed the Drunken Tailor when I had it years ago, and it is years ago now. Wish I'd offered
beautiful.
That was a good Pilsner. That was a good Pilsner. So I just wanted to recognise Brad's comment, because that was a good Pilsner.
Thank you, Brad. I think that Pilsner, and I'm not saying it to blow my own trumpet, because that would look like this. But I think that was. I've had a lot of Pilsners from a lot of breweries, and I've only ever drank one brewery's beer that I thought was genuinely better than that Pilsner, because I knew that, one, they'd spent £1 million on the kit that they had. They'd been trained by the head brewer at Starapramen, and they import all their ingredients. So that we basically followed the same thing. The only difference between ours and theirs was it's the process that's very different. So I know your friend said about the IPA. I'll get to the yeast thing in a minute, but the yeast thing also is down to the technique. So the Pilsner that the guys over in York make is done with, they import all the wheat from Germany, because nitrogen levels in German grain are lower than in the UK, which affects the way the beer tastes. So we have higher nitrogen levels because of what we use, basically. It won't hurt you, but it's just different. So the yeast, so if you use a lager like an IPA yeast, so you wouldn't specifically say, oh, this yeast is an IPA yeast. So you would use, I don't know, any kind of like Nottingham yeast you could have. I'm trying to think of another one off the top of my head. There's like loads of different strains. So let's just go with a standard Nottingham yeast, which is a good all-rounder. If you use that and made normal style beer, what you would do is you would basically ferment that for 1 week in the tank and then put it into storage, into containers. And then if you were then going to can it, you might filter it and then put it in cans. If you're making a Pilsner or a lager, so a lager, the word means to store, you do something where instead of leaving it a week to ferment at a set temperature, you will let it ferment for a little bit and then you crash cool it. So you bring the temperature all the way down to 0. And lager yeast is designed to work at very, very low temperatures, and it just farts out a bit of alcohol every now and then. It just farts a bit out. It slowly gets that sugar right down that's in there, and in that time of storing it, it gets rid of all the impurities, everything drops out, and you can virtually, like our lager, we didn't even filter it, and in a glass it's like crystal clear. So if you do it the opposite right way around and you use a normal yeast and then you crash cool it, what you get is something like a Kolsch, which is like a very a German style. If you went to, say, New York, A lot of their lagers are Kolsch style. A Brooklyn lager, that is based off a Kolsch style beer. So it's the yeast and you couldn't easily make an IPA with a Pilsner yeast. It tastes pretty rough, and I don't think it would work that well, to be totally honest. I hope that
Fair
answered
enough.
your question.
That's a great answer. So we kind of covered that. Have you just kind of covered that? Would you use the same yeast in both IPA and a Pilsner? Yeah.
No,
you
wouldn't. The only other thing that might be what's changing it is I wonder if they're cultivating their own yeast and cropping and reusing. So rather than we used to buy a lot of wet yeast in and do like dry packets and cultivate it ourselves, but we wouldn't reuse it. So I wonder if they've got their own yeast because it'll be cheaper that way. But the problem is with that yeast is that it mutates and changes over time. You know, the whole process, cleaning, whatever, even air. You know, air comes in, it's got wild yeast. It can change the whole thing. So whether that's kind of changed, I don't know.
Who knows? But yeah, my general feel of Hawkstone at the moment is not a good vibe. Not a good vibe. Lee is saying he wants to try Hawkstone, but still on his stouts at the minute. What stouts are you drinking at the moment, Lee? In my PD at the moment, which is too cold because I've got the original PD, which only runs at 3 degrees. I've got the Vocation and Brew York. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. What's it bloody called?
Tom Coco.
Darkness Beckons.
Oh, yeah.
You what, mate?
That's nice. Isn't it?
It is. It's all right. Sometimes I think, am I too critical? Am I too critical of beers? Sometimes I've reviewed beers and I've absolutely panned them. And I've gone and watched other people's beer reviews, and they've said they're like they really think it's a good beer. And I think, is it me? Am I too critical? Am I absolutely too critical? But that Vocation Brew York Darkness Beckons coming in at 4.9%. It is 4.9 stout. At 3 degrees, it's too cold. However, the weird thing with that is before that got to 3 degrees, and it was sitting at around about 7 or 8. I thought, I'm going to have a glass of that at 7 or 8. And the flavours were epic, really good flavours, but the body was abysmal, really, really abysmal body, really thin. But then at 3 degrees, the body's become better, but the flavours have clearly become more muted. But the body on it is far much better at 3 degrees than it is at 8 degrees, but you're going to lose flavour at 3 degrees. And this keg is taking me some work to get through. I'm struggling to get through it because I'm just not overly enjoying it. And you've got to drink it. There's 10 pints in there. You can't throw 10 pints of beer away. It's okay. It is okay. If I had a Perfect Draft Pro, I'd have it set at 7 degrees, but the body wouldn't be good. But at 3 degrees, the body's better, which just to me, and I'm just a beer drinker. That's all I am. I don't do anything else in terms of knowing the ins and outs of brewing and everything else. But at 3 degrees, the body's better, which is really quite bizarre.
It's really difficult because you can get a beer. I'll give you an example: the Bandon Car Irish Porter that we used to make, and you can have the Bandon Car in a bottle, and it's amazing. You have it on a cask; it's a little bit thinner, but it's still nice. Have it like carbonated on a keg; it's flipping vile. It just isn't designed for that. So the process and the container that you put it in and the way it serves it and all that kind of stuff is all really is a big thing, really.
Yeah, it's very strange, isn't it? It's very strange. So what stouts are you drinking, Lee? Beardy, how are you? If you're still here, hello. Hope you're well, mate. Hope you are doing very well. Andy K saying Brett's in the house. Beardy is saying he's pretty good, to be honest. Good, nice to hear. Lee is saying good evening to Beardy. Beardy is saying hello, Andy. My computer's gone a bit wonky. Evening, Lee. Evening, all. You're currently watching an advert for. Let me just click on this one. Oh, it's been so long since I've done a live. I can't remember how to click buttons. Andy K saying, evening all, you're currently watching an advert for the Hawkstone Brewery fan club. Absolutely. But I can only do things honestly. Sometimes I do, like I already mentioned about a minute ago. Sometimes I think, am I too critical of some things? But I think if I'm paying reasonable money for something, I think I've got a right to be critical, and why not? So, like I said, so many times I've absolutely slaughtered a beer and then watched other beer reviewers, and I'm not knocking other beer reviewers. We all taste things differently. Taste is subjective. And I think, why do they think that's good? I don't think it's a good beer. I don't get it. But we all taste things differently. But I do sometimes think maybe I am a little bit too critical. But that's me, and I'll only ever do it.
Don't you think it's venue based as well, and who you're with and what you're doing? You know, it's funny. We went to that car show, and you and me, we were like, "Oh, shall we have a beer?" And then we both looked, and we were like, "No." We went out to the bar. We lived there. I'm not paying that money for that rubbish. No way, not happening.
It was almost a little bit embarrassing because we were the only two that went to that bar at that time. You had two bar staff. And we were looking at the lineup of beers, and they were like, "Can we help you?" We're like, "No, not that beer."
No, you can't.
No, it was. What did they have? Cruz Campo, some other nonsense.
Shite, wasn't it? It was it Beavertown neck oil?
No, they didn't even have neck oil. If they had neck oil, I'd have it. It was what was it called? Oh, I can't remember, but it was.
They had styrofoam,
poor.
which is now made in the UK. So
made in the UK, so that's poor. I can't remember the name of the other one. I think I've got a glass of the other one somewhere, but I can't remember. But yeah, and then we're like, nah, we're gonna get a soft drink.
we literally look like the biggest beer snobs ever. They were very gracious with us.
Well, they were, yeah, and I did say that. I said, "Sorry, we're beer snobs. I can't drink anything that you're offering, especially at the prices they were going to charge. They were probably charging best part £10, wouldn't they, for a pint of that?
Ridiculous. The prices at the NEC for food is just extortionate.
That was outrageous. It was outrageous.
What was it? I paid $13.99 for a foot-long Subway, a drink and a bag of crisps.
Yeah, I paid £5.50, didn't I, for a sausage roll? A sausage roll. I mean, it was a
did look like a nice sausage roll.
Yeah. It was nice, but it wasn't £5.50. That was outrageous. It really was.
It was.
I need to go for a week, and I know we've only got 5 in, so you're going to have to talk to yourself for a minute, John, while I go for a week.
I was literally going to say I need to go and get a beer, but it's fine. I'll wait for him to get a beer. So, let's have a look at these comments. Lee's laughing. He says, "In fairness, you sounded positive about the tasting session. This tasting, he did. He wanted. I think he really wanted to. He's definitely a Jezza fan. Buy them again? What? Well, yeah, it could be a batch thing. Who knows? Who knows?" Brad says, "I was going to put my feet up tomorrow and watch the footy, but after watching this live, I think I'm going to do the 3-hour round trip to Diddley's Cod Farm to pick up a few bottles. 3 hours, man. Actually, that's not that bad. Round trip. That's an hour and a half each way. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Yeah, go. It'd be interesting. I wonder. I don't know. I know that this is my cynical mind. Is like, they put it on PD. I wonder if they're whether it's being made under license or something. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Brew York have got in there, so clearly they brew their own. So, Lee Gunner says, I've got some Beamish, but I keep going back to the Forged. I think it's really easy to drink. Is Forged the, what's his face?
Colin
Thingy
McGregor.
fighter dude. Colin McGregor, yeah. Andy K says
So
he's not tried Forged yet. I haven't tried Forged. I haven't had Black Heart either because I refuse to buy anything from Brewdog because there's such a set. Anyway, I'll say no more.
I just need to go. You get a beer, John. I'm going to go back to
the Beamish. You're the Beamish. You're a big Beamish fan, aren't you?
Love Beamish. So, Lee, you've got some Beamish. It doesn't say you've drunk your Beamish yet, but you keep going back to Forged. Forged is easy to drink. I absolutely agree with you, Lee. Forged is an easy drinking stout. Agree with that, which kind of makes it a decent stout because it's easy drinking. I think Guinness is probably better than Forged. But Forged, I agree. Forged is easy drinking, but Beamish for me. I did a review of Beamish. I don't know if you ever watched it, Lee. And you can't buy Beamish in England. You have to get it imported from Ireland, which I do. I love Beamish. Beamish. I mean, back in my youth, I don't know if you've watched my Beamish video, Lee, but in my youth, I mean, I'm 48 now, but when I was 18. I was drinking earlier than 18, going pubs quite early aged. I was a lager drinker. And then one day I saw the Beamish tap and I just thought it looked good. And when they poured it and they gave it to me and I was like, what on earth is that? It's bloody black. That's not a lager. But I loved it. I absolutely loved Beamish from a young age. And then it disappeared out of the UK, which was devastating because I thought it was fantastic. And then I found a website where I could get it sent over from Ireland. And I still enjoyed it. I still think it's a great stout. And like I say, going back to when I was, 15, 16, 17, going out drinking in pubs, everything was all about the lager. But the Beamish, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And that kind of nostalgia vibe has stuck. And so I did have to kind of, in my video, kind of put that to one side about the nostalgia and what it took me back to and what it reminded me of. But Beamish, for me, is better than Guinness. Other people disagree, and that's fine. We can all disagree. I've got no issues with that. For me, it's definitely better than Forged. But Forged, I absolutely do agree, though, Lee. It is easy drinking. And there's something about an easy drinking beer that makes a beer decent. Especially if you're with friends, you've got people around your house, and you're drinking something that is easy and enjoyable. For me, they're the best beers. They're the best beers in the world. If you're drinking something that's easy drinking and you're with friends and you're having a great time, happy days. They're the best beers in the world for me. Absolutely, they are. And I get a lot of people ask me, what's my most favourite beer? To me, the most favourite beer is what you're enjoying with friends. And I kind of stolen that a little bit from Paul's beer reviews because he's always said that the best beers are the ones where you're having such a good time with your mates. It doesn't always matter what the beer is. If you're drinking a beer and you're having a great time, that's the best beer. And that's Beamish for me because it takes me back to my youth when I was having amazing times, having a great time in life. And I was loving Beamish when all my 17-year-old friends were drinking lagers. I was smashing back the Beamish and I was loving it. I was enjoying it, enjoying everything that was happening, that was going on with my friends. So they're the best beers. But yeah, absolutely agree, Lee. Forged is a very easy drinking beer. And if you're having a great time with great friends, they're the best beers. Simple as
you
that.
said to me before,
I like that comment.
As you said to me before, Chris, and I'm still not sure about it, but you said the best beers are enjoyed naked, and then you told me to get undressed.
Absolutely, mate. They are. Best beers are also naked. Get naked. There's nothing better than naked and having a beer with John. Getting naked and beer. What more do you want? I mean, how good can
What
life
could go wrong?
get if you're naked and having a beer? Does life get any better than that? Life can't get any better than naked and beer, can it? Oh, I think John did this comment. I'm not trying to watch that, but how do you think it compares to Guinness and Black Heart? I'll talk about Black Heart. I know John's views on the Brewdog, and I absolutely agree with John. But it annoys me because I do like Black Heart. I do not like Brewdog as a company. They're atrocious. The way they treat their staff. And what gave me a real eye opener as to how they treat their staff is I do like Black Heart, and I was buying it reasonably regularly. And then a couple of weeks back, I went into London with my son, and I had no intentions, and I haven't released this video. Have I released it? No, I haven't. I went into London because there was a pub in London called Devonshire that apparently does one of the best pints of Guinness in England. So I went there. But what I also wanted to do was go to the Brewdog bar at Waterloo, which is supposed to be the biggest Brewdog bar, at least in the UK. And I've never had Black Heart on tap. So I thought, we're going into London. We're getting off at the train at Waterloo. So why not just duck in to Brewdog and have a pint of Black Heart? So we went into the Brewdog bar at Waterloo. It is enormous. It absolutely is enormous. They've even got a proper full-on ice cream van within it and slides that go from one level to the next. So I went in there and I thought, the only beer I'm having in here, I'm not having anything else other than a Black Heart, because I do like Black Heart. I don't like Brewdog, but I do like Black Heart. So I had a Black Heart. Nathan had a cider. They had some guest ciders on, and that guest cider was actually really nice. The customer service in there was appalling. Absolutely appalling. The guy that served us or poured our beers could barely open his mouth to speak to us, which I thought was a bit off. The glass was dirty. The Black Heart on tap wasn't good. Really wasn't good.
Oh.
And I've done a video of it. I have done a video. I haven't uploaded it. And that was a good few weeks ago we went, but I still haven't uploaded that video. And then I was thinking, I know Brewdog staff are being treated appallingly. So have they treated me as a customer appallingly on purpose? Have they got an agenda? Then I started thinking way too much into it. But the bottom line was, Black Heart in a can, I thought was actually better than Black Heart in one of their bars. And one of the reasons I haven't uploaded that video is I can't, even though I'm negative in that video, I can't publicise Brewdog. I can't give them any publicity. The bar itself was pretty tasty. It was quite remarkable and very, very nice. The staff weren't, and a bit shocking. So I thought, I'm not going to upload it because even negative publicity for Brewdog is good publicity. So I haven't uploaded it. Simple as that.
Well,
and Black Heart I prefer over Guinness, but I'm not going to upload that video. Simple as that. Maybe I should. But
yeah, I think you should.
There you go.
I think you should, because maybe it'll get Brewdog to. You can even say I was unsure whether to do this because of all the drama that surrounds it and the people and how unmotivated the staff seemed and how fed up they seemed. Is the culture still not great there? Because I know some people that work at the Huddersfield one, and they're great people. But the previous people that run it, all sorts was going on. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's strange. But you know, the amount of negativity about Brewdog, which is clearly justified, you know, and what they're paying them. Yeah, they just, I don't know. You know, they were huge, weren't they, Brewdog, when they first arrived, and they made a difference, and they made a change, and it was positive.
Yeah,
and that was a good thing. It was certainly a good thing for beer drinkers. You know, their original marketing plan was fantastic, and it worked.
Yeah.
And a lot of craft breweries got themselves established because of what Brewdog did, but they've lost their way, and it's a shame. Their beers have lost their way. The company is just dreadful, and it is a shame
But
because for what
beer,
they
I think the
originally
craft
stood.
beer market's it's lost its way in many ways, and I think we've got into a I think we've got into a situation with craft beer, and I think I'll be honest with a lot of what I saw being done in the behaviour. You look at the Facebook groups, the way that they talk. There's this arrogance of, I mean, ultimately, you, me, Brad, Lee, all of us will drink beer, and we'll all taste a different thing. None of us are qualified. I mean, I own a brewery, and I'm not qualified. But the problem has become, and we went and we didn't buy beer from that place, right? Because there were two reasons. One was the price, and we know that for that money you can get some really good beer. And we were just educated. We didn't have a go at anybody. We admittedly said we were beer snobs. We were very polite, and that was the end of it. But I've seen other people where they've had a go at the people at the bar, like it's their fault, which they couldn't give a toss, if I'm totally honest. And then what I started to see was a lot of SJWs coming out to say how wonderful they are. A lot of politics was brought into it, especially the left side of the politics was heavily pushed in craft beer, and I think in some ways the nice bits of that as well, like the being inclusive and stuff like that, I'm all for that. But then it went too far that way, and it's a massive turnoff. And if you don't think it's a massive turnoff, look at what happened to Bud Light. You know, they went and sponsored somebody that was trans, and it made a statement about womanhood. And now Bud Light is virtually can't be sold in the US. It's like their shares went off a cliff. Yeah, and I think we've fallen into a trap with the craft beer thing. We got into a place where I think a lot of the industry they felt superior to people. You only had to see the behavior of some people at those beer festivals, and it was like they were the coolest kids in their own back garden. They're like, oh yeah, and you just like that isn't what it's about. That is not beer. That's not what it's about. And you should have fun, and it should be and inclusive should mean inclusive, not just inclusive to the people that are the minority. It should be to everybody, and that just wasn't what I experienced. And then you go the other end of the spectrum. You go to like GBBF, and they're like flipping absolute dinosaurs who are kicking off about QR codes, like it's some flipping coming from I don't know Putin himself. They like completely lost their minds over it, and are so critical of people that no one can win. And then you end up with flipping Rishi Sunak gets through the door and gets a photo opportunity, pulling a pint. He doesn't even flipping drink, and he just screwed the whole of the craft beer market up. It's just like, they're just clueless, and that's why craft beer is on its arse.
Yeah, I completely agree. And there's so many different topics that we could kind of, go down. And I try not to talk about politics because politics is generally like taste, which is subjective. And there's a few comments that are on my screen that are about, I'm saying tasting is subjective. And it is. Everything is subjective. But sometimes there's a few beers that come out where everyone's on the same page, that it's just a bad beer. Like Twice as Nice, that was in Aldi, was dreadful, and the majority of people said it was a dreadful beer. But there's some beers that would divide opinion, and that's cool. I love that. I love beers that divide opinion.
Yeah.
But you can also drop that same kind of thing into politics, in that politics is subjective, but the majority of people at the moment are kind of agreeing that the Tories are done. They are done.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Rishi Sunak, who turned up at GBBF, was just an insult because it was the same day that he'd increased alcohol taxes. And you think you're only here to try and make yourself kind of look good. And you look at, I work in, as you know, John, I work in law, and I look at knife crime in the UK, which is the absolute massive problem, huge problem. All these teenagers running around with knives, all these teenagers that get murdered, and all their parents that are getting a phone call saying your son has been stabbed or your daughter's been stabbed or whatever. It is absolutely horrendous. But you hear nothing about what Rishi is doing about knife crime. And
nope.
I know I've got a disposable vape in my hand, and I'm a hypocrite. I don't think these should exist, even though I use them. And he's banned disposable vapes from November this year. How many teenagers do you know that have died from using a disposable vape? None. How many kids are dying from knife crime?
Well, this is it.
What are they doing
then you've
about
got flipping Khan. Khan can afford himself in London a £400,000 bulletproof Range Rover and a security detail, and he puts on a fireworks show, the Mayor of London fireworks show, and there's a kid up on, was it Biggin Hill, that was getting stabbed to death?
Yeah.
And when he was questioned about it, he was like, whatever.
Yeah.
They don't
Good
care.
night, Lee. Thanks very much for joining. Appreciate you joining it. Enjoy your bedtime stories. Cheers, Lee.
Sorry, Lee. I went off on a tangent, Lee.
No, that's fine. I just literally saw Lee dropped a comment in saying he was going, so I always like to try and say goodbye and not ignore him. So thank you very much, Lee. Do appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much. Enjoy those bedtime stories. But yeah, I go back to the politics, and I think Rishi Sunak is banning smoking. He's banning vaping. What are you doing about knife crime? What are you doing? Yeah. Kids are killing each other. Kids are our future. And what are you doing about it? You're doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. And it drives me absolutely insane. It really does drive me insane. I can't stand it. Like I say, I work in law, and in the last week I've had so many kids that I've been dealing with that have been carrying knives, and it's just like, really? It just I can't abide it. And the government are looking at things like banning disposable vapes, which hasn't killed anybody. I'm not saying vaping
or charging people
amazing and it's good for you. Yeah, or, driving into London or people having to sell their cars because they can't afford to pay the charges, etc. But we're doing nothing about knife crime. We're doing nothing about other types of crime. But let's penalise the people that live in London, are trying their best to work for a living. Let's just keep penalising them. It's just, it's shocking. It drives me nuts. It absolutely drives me nuts. It really does. I can't stand it.
Did you see what they did on the latest ULEZ protest?
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I saw Jeff had put a video up about. I haven't watched his video of that.
Oh my god! It's just so the guy that he interviews is the one that I was talking to before I went and did my interview with him. And he's a really lovely bloke. And I know a few ULEZ guys who protest, and they are no different to you and me. They are like a really normal group of people. And no doubt you'll get the odd one, as we know in YouTube, that you get the odd one that causes trouble. But on the whole, it's all very easy going. And they went and protested, and because they were near to Khan's house, they rolled out. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. Is it Section 2A or something? Where if you're inciting violence or protesting, or you make somebody feel uncomfortable outside their own house, like you've got to get out there. And they flipping were battering old ladies and like dragging them out into riot vans, and it was all like covered up, like it never happened. There was no news, there was no nothing, and I was amazed. I've seen some footage from it, and I was genuinely shocked.
Yeah, I need to watch some of that and get an understanding, because there's people I know that are cops in London that have got no desire to enforce anything to do with ULEZ. So the problems cops face is they've got a government that are telling them what laws they've got to enforce. So they have to enforce it. And some of them don't want to enforce it, but they've got to. But in terms of anything to do with police brutality, if they're, being brutal to decent members of the society, that, then that's not on. I absolutely agree that isn't on. But, you go back to COVID times where if you were out when there was the COVID bans on restrictions on being able to go out, a lot of cops never ever wanted to enforce those bans, but they're being driven by the government that are saying you have to do it. But there was, and a lot of people would get ignored. A lot of cops would just completely ignore some of those people that were out when they probably shouldn't have been, because as cops are also human beings, and they're not robots. Some are.
No, some are. But not
there
all
are some that are robotic and will follow everything, but not all of them. In fact, the majority of them aren't. Working in law, I know a lot of them. And they don't want to enforce this nonsense, but they've got to, because that's what the government, and then the government blame the cops and say, oh, it's the cops that are dishing out these fines. Yeah, because you told them to.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel sorry for them because they're between a rock and a hard place. And at the moment, right now, it's not that bad. Like, admittedly, there's protests and whatever, and they're doing what they're supposed to do, and nothing's got that bad. But I think if there was ever a turn and like things got like really real, and I'm talking like civil war kind of direction, I think the government would be surprised how many police wouldn't back them up. Personally, that's what I think. I'm not saying that's the view of other people, but I think a lot of police officers are in between a rock and a hard place.
They are. They're very stuck, and you've got a lot of police officers that live in London that have got to abide by these ULEZ nonsense. I watched. I read an article the other day. I can't remember if it was on our group chat. I don't think it was. Of a woman that had a Renault Megane that was from 2003 or something, and she was getting fined left, right, and centre, but took her car to a test centre that said your vehicle is completely ULEZ compliant. But she was getting so many fines that in the end she scrapped her car for minimal money, and then eventually Khan's, whatever they are, came back and said, yeah, sorry, we made a mistake. You shouldn't have got any of those fines. It was your video, wasn't it?
It was my video, I did a video on it. Yeah. I did.
I mean, that is shocking.
I know. And that's one of like loads of people. So I did another one today because, yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? I've had a bit of flack from the tree huggers, but there's some really good comments on there. There's actually some people that I would say are probably more on the side of ULEZ, but then understand that we are not in a place to be, that ULEZ isn't the correct way about going about cleaning up the environment, that it's more likely to just cause problems and is a money grab. And yeah, it was quite an interesting. It was quite interesting actually. I was really appreciated. The comments on there were all very. There was no name calling, and it was all very on both sides. Everybody put their argument forwards pretty good, and I thought, yeah, I appreciate that. I like that. And with the scrapping of that car, there was no other argument. There was no one saying, well, she should have done this. Everyone was like, yeah, that's bang out of order. So it's a mess. I hope somebody else. I mean, I don't know about this reform. There's the Reform Party thing. I mean, I can't vote for any of them at the moment. I just think they're all. They're just. I feel like above the left and the right, there's something else going on, and the only reason they feed into these two things is to keep us divided, because they know if we suddenly have our own consciousness and we don't believe everything that we read, then we are a problem.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like. I might be wrong.
Just going to say goodnight to Andy K. Andy K, if you've gone already, apologies. But if you're still here, waiting for me to say goodbye, goodbye. Thank you very much for joining, Andy K. Appreciate you coming in, mate. Thank you very much.
What a legend.
But yeah, I look at voting and I just think, is there any real point in voting anymore? Because I don't trust any of them. I don't trust Tories. I don't trust Labour. I just generally don't trust any politician. So what's the point of voting? And Rachel,
I think the point of voting
will vote.
is that don't bother voting and start running against these people in politics instead.
Maybe, but I just do not see the point in voting, because I just do not trust any politician. Everything they do is paid for. Their wages are their wages because they can claim for everything. They're not in the real world. They just don't get real. Rishi does not get real world. Keir Starmer does not get real world. So what's the point of voting for Tory or Labour? I just can't see the point. So what's the point of voting? No. Because nothing will change. We've had 13 years of Tories. Before that, we've had 13 odd years of Labour. It just is a perpetual cycle. The whole thing needs reforming. All of it needs a reform. The whole way government and politics is run needs an overhaul. It's not fit for purpose anymore because it's run by wealthy people. And who did I say this to the other day? Was it you? I can't remember. All we are to politicians that are at the top of the game in terms of running the government, we're just their monopoly board. That's all we are.
Yeah.
Because it makes no difference in their lives what happens. We are just their monopoly board. We're just a game. And nothing will affect their lives because of the wealth they have. They do not understand what it is like to be you and I, the people in the comments. They've got no idea what that's like anymore because of the wealth they have and what they can claim for. They can claim for everything, absolutely everything. They can claim for their mileage to drive from their home to work. We can't do that. They've got no idea what reality is. We're just their monopoly board. That's all we are.
Yeah.
And
they just constantly have their hand in the kitty. But I think so there is a party called the Reform Party. And I'm like, I think part of me, rather than just ruining my vote and not voting for anybody, I'm going to go out and I'm going to vote, and I'm going to vote Reform, because I'm like, they need to have a kick in the arse and have a bit of a reality check that the people are fed up with both of them. Like, I'm sick of both of them. I've got no trust in either of them. They're like as crooked as a hillbilly smile.
Absolutely, and they are. But I mean, even who heads Refill? Who runs Refill?
I don't know. I need to look into it. I've seen a couple of things and I thought, okay, and they what they don't have a manifesto. They just have a contract, a legal contract. So if they don't do what they say they're going to do, then you can have them in court. And I'm like, yeah, that seems a bit more sensible. Because look at Khan now with ULEZ, right? So he spent £3 million on the development of a pay-per-mile system. And he says, no, I'm not going to do it. It's completely off the table until he gets re-elected. And he'll go, you know what? We're going to do pay-per-mile. And now the problem is everyone in the rest of the country is like, oh, we're all good. But all the new cars coming out have got geofencing and they have the ability to be turned on and off. And that goes all the way down to your Vauxhall Vectra or whatever, basic Mocha or whatever you drive, because all the cars are connected to the internet in one way or the other. So if you look in the small print, what it says on these new cars is that these cars could be turned off due to geofencing if the law changes, which tells me that at some point they've already agreed that we're going to be in a place where we're only allowed out so far for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen with all that nonsense.
But it's wrong,
I feel like it is. I think we'll end up with a civil war.
No,
that's what I think.
Sometimes I believe in that. Sometimes I think we could end up with a civil war. But then when you, and I'm not knocking, after it's gone out, but we are very typically British, aren't we? We go along with things. We go along with what we're told. We have a few revolts here and there. We have a few demonstrations, but we keep going. We keep sticking with it. And I'm not. Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating a massive civil war, but as British people, we just go, okay, fine. We'll put up with that. We'll go along with it, and we keep doing it. And we've been doing it for years, and we keep doing it.
But
nothing is going to change.
The British. We get to a point now. I feel like the British people get to a point and then they go, enough's enough. It just means we haven't got to that point yet.
But when was enough enough? When was the last time you saw the British people stand up and say enough is enough?
When German tanks rolled into Poland. And
how long ago was that?
Oh, some time ago.
When are we talking about the running of our own country? How things happen in this country? We just seem to keep rolling with it. I'm not saying we all need to go out in civil war. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
But as the British public, we're very typical. Kind of, I don't know if it's stiff upper lip or whatever you want to call it. We just go, okay, that's happened, and we just keep rolling with it. And it's about time that everybody stood up and said, "We've had enough. We've had enough of billionaires telling us what to do. This is what's needed."
But the problem,
there's a few YouTubers that I watch. Go on.
No, well, the problem I think we've got to is social media has been used in a way that has deliberately divided us, and I think also the government are quite happy with us being divided, because for them a divided house will fall. So for them it works out right. Yeah. And I agree, lactose in beer should be banned. It's bloody awful.
Absolutely. That's a great comment. As is Brad's comment. I don't know if you're still here, Brad. If you are, thank you very much. 2 things I'll take from tonight's live. 1, the world is buggered, and 2, Hawkstone is shite. Absolutely.
That's where we've got to. I mean, I feel like tonight was worth it, wasn't it, Chris? I mean, we've set the world to rights on everything that needed to be talked about.
Before we wrap things up, because we're probably heading in that direction, I better do the last beer from Hawkstone. We better do the last one. It'd be rude not to do the last one out of the 4. So, back to beer. It's a beer channel. We digressed, which is fine.
We did.
I like a bit of digression.
My fault.
So, let's have a look. No, it was good. It's the way things went. We're going to now look at the final one out of the 4. We've been an hour and 40 minutes in, and we're now looking at the last one, which is the Hawkstone Session. Generally, the other 3 that have come before this have not been good. This is a premium Cotswold Session lager, coming in at 4%. Now, we know Hawkstone do their normal lager, which is 4.8%, which is that one. So now we're going to finish off with their Hawkstone Session lager, coming in at 4% ABV. Our Session lager is light-bodied with delicate notes of elderflower, citrus, and a sweet malt finish. So let's get on with this one. Let's get this one done. Let's give this a... You have to pour these Hawkstones really aggressively to get ahead. That's quite apparent from what we've found out so far tonight. And that is it's just as light as their normal one. Look at that. I mean, it's... I know I'm using a Beavertown glass that's got all sorts of artwork over it, but you can see that is...
It looks like water.
Very clear. Let's have a little sniff. It smells of nothing. I said this so many times tonight. I did not want to bash Hawkstone. There's a little bit of bready on that, actually. There is a bit of a bready note to that. And metallic. And it's in a glass bottle. It shouldn't be metallic. Let's taste it. Cheers. It's just... it absolutely carries on the theme that I am never buying Hawkstone beers ever again.
Oh, no.
Light, no flavour. I don't know what's happened at Hawkstone. I think they've jumped. I think they've had some success from the Hawkstone lager and they're just playing on it. That's not a good beer either. It's watery. It's watery, it's thin, no real flavour to it. Again, £2. See, this is my point. I'm going to just disappear again. And this just proves...
£2.50. Is it a 330?
330ml bottle. So you're looking at $2.49, I think it was. $2.49 for a 330ml bottle that is coming in at... What did I say it was? No, that's the IPA.
3.8, wasn't it?
Oh, no, that's 4%. So the Hawkstone Session is 4%. The Hawkstone Lager is 4.8%. The Hawkstone IPA, which is a lager, is 4.8%. The Hawkstone Pills, which are 3.8%, was dreadful. All of those are the same price. I think they were all £2.50. And they're all... None of those were great. When you can go to Sainsbury's, Tesco's, Asda and buy that 660ml bottle of Vorsteiner, which is 4.8%, and you can buy 3 of those for £6. There's over a pint in there, and it absolutely mullers those Hawkstone beers.
And it's made in Germany. Still made in Germany.
Made in Germany.
Under the
It is
purity
still made
law.
in Germany.
Yeah,
It is.
it is.
It is imported by Carlsberg Marsden. It is. I'm not going to. I don't like Carlsberg Marsdens, but I've got to be honest. It is imported by them, but it is still made in Germany. It's in a 660ml bottle, and you can buy 3 of those for £6, and it smashes the daylights out of any of those.
And if you wanted something even smoother, you could get Krombacher for even less.
Absolutely. I've got Krombacher in the fridge.
Oh,
Krombacher, again, 660ml bottle. Buy 3 of those for £6, and Krombacher is absolutely outstanding. And this is the problem, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
It is. Krombacher is absolutely outstanding. Warsteiner and Krombacher are always in my fridge. The only reason I've got Warsteiner in my fridge at the minute is because when I went to the shop today, all the Krombacher was gone, but they had Warsteiner. But Warsteiner and Krombacher are just always in my fridge. They're great beers. They're consistent. They're always consistent. They're always in 660 mils, and you can buy 3 bottles for £6. It's an absolute no-brainer, isn't it? Absolute no-brainer.
Totally.
And you've got Hawkstone. Totally. And all Hawkstone are absolutely doing, and I like him, I enjoy watching him, is they're playing on Jeremy Clarkson's name. Simple as that. That's all they're doing. And I'm not going to buy any more of their beers. That's that. I've said enough.
I'll tell you what. We need to go to York and try. I need to take you to Elvington Brewery to try their beer. It is unfreaking believable. That is the best Pilsner in the UK, bar none. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah. Simple. Brad said, I mentioned about whether Brad was still here. He is still here. He said, don't panic. He's still here. Be rude not to leave without seeing the last beer. And I have just done the last beer. So I'm glad you've stuck around for that, Brad. That is fantastic. Brad also says, there we go. There it is. All about the profit margin and not about the actual product. Yeah, I probably wouldn't disagree with that. It is about profit margins. It's about Jeremy Clarkson's name. I won't be buying the Hawkstone Lager on the PD. I've looked at it many times, and those beers have just summed it up for me. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it on PD. We've spoken about Warsteiner and Krombacher, which are just far superior. How an IPA? This IPA was just a lager. It is not an IPA. Not an IPA whatsoever. But there you go. So there you go. I'm up to date with the comments. I'm going to thank John for joining me, and I'm going to wrap it up there. So I'm going to let John say goodbye.
See you later, Alligators. I'm sorry I went off on a tangent, but I'm kind of like a bit like slightly angry with what's going on at the moment, and
I think that's fair.
On my hands. Yeah.
I think it's fair. Whether you've got time on your hands, whether you haven't got times on your hand, everybody is suffering with what's gone on over the last 10 odd years with our government. The only people that are generally okay with it are probably the wealthy, and I'm not knocking the wealthy. I'm not knocking people that have earned their wealth. They've worked their socks off and they've become wealthy people. I love that. I love a success story. I absolutely do. But generally, the way this country is run is shocking. It needs a change. We've had a rant. I'm not going to keep ranting. I'm going to go. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for John for joining. It's been a long time since I've done a live. I've enjoyed it. So I might do some more in the future. But it's been fantastic. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, indeed. See you all soon.
See you later, brothers.
Oh, there's now an extra button to press to end the stream. Not used to that. This shows how long it's been. Press this one, and hopefully we're all done. Thank you, everyone. Love you all. Thank you very much for watching my channel. Thank you, everyone, for everything. All is good in the world.